Hi lads, so this is a quick video tutorial to go through that second part, that second example from class week 5. So it's a bracket that's shown here on the right. The way we're going to do this one is we're going to use the shared sketch command again. So we're going to start by drawing this full sketch, and then we're going to share the sketch and use it multiple times to create the various different extrusions. So just to note on this before we start, I'm going to draw the full thing. I'm not just going to mirror half of it. I could use a mirror, but there's no need for this. We're not kind of practicing the mirror command for this one. So I'm going to draw that full sketch. Also to note that it's symmetric about the kind of the plus Z and minus Z direction. So when we're doing the extrusions, we need to be using the mid-plane extrude. So we'll be using a mid-plane extrude for all of them. So mid-plane extrude 46 for this bottom section, mid-plane extrude of 36 for the middle section, and a mid-plane extrude of 50 for the upper section. So that'll kind of become clearer as we're going down through it and doing the extrusions. So let's just get started straight away. Click on New and Part, click OK, and Sketch tab, and a sketch here in the top. And we're starting on the front plane again as usual. So for me, I'm going to start with the origin as this point here. I'm going to start on the origin. So I'm going to just draw the two circles first. So the first one is a diameter 18, the second one is diameter 36. So circle command up the top. Just going to draw two circles roughly, any size really. Both of them starting at the origin, and then dimensioning them. So the first one is going to be 18, and the second one is going to be 36. So that's the two of them dimensioned. The next step I'm going to do, I'm going to draw this rectangle here. So I'm going to use, for the bottom sections here, I'm going to do two center point rectangles. So I'm going to draw one big one here and then another small one here. So coming across again to the SolidWorks, and just click the drop down, select center rectangle, and just drop it kind of directly under the origin there. So I'm just going to draw one quite large, and for the second one I'm going to make sure that it's directly under this again. So starting it there, and I'm going to make sure that it snaps to the bottom edge of that first rectangle. So I'm just going to snap it to there roughly. Okay, so that's the two of them done. Just going to zoom out slightly. So add a couple of dimensions again. So this from the center point, or the origin as we've drawn it, to the bottom edge of the big rectangle is 45. So I'm going to add that. So smart dimension, center point, bottom of the large rectangle. Doesn't really matter which side I go to. For some reason I always go to the left, so we'll just put in the 45 here. So that's that put in. Next is the width. So the width is 80. So I'm going to add the width. That's 80 there, and you'll see just as that popped on, this point moved away from the center. So obviously that's not locked. It's not related to or constrained to that center point. So I'm going to address that now. To do that, I'm going to get a center line. I'm going to click on center line, just the drop down beside line, center line, start at the center of the circle, and come straight away down, and I'm going to stop it on that bottom edge of the bottom. That bottom rectangle. So if I zoom in here, and I can see that the bottom section has been locked directly under the origin, this middle section hasn't. So in order to lock it, I just need to click it and pull it across onto the center line. So just left click and hold on that point and just pull it across onto the center line, and you'll see when that yellow square pops up that it's going to snap that and add that coincident relation. So the coincident relation meaning that that point will always have to be on that line. So I just release that there, and that is that locked. So a couple of more dimensions. So the height of that big rectangle is 12. So just right click, smart dimension, and 12. The bottom rectangle then is 20 by 3. So the same thing there, just click, left click. So just to go through the dimensions, I think you're fairly familiar with that anyway. So just left click on the line and left click on the other line. and your 20. Or you could just left click on that bottom line, but either or. So we'll do that for this one. So just left click on one of the lines and we put the 3 on that. So that's that. So just to tighten up the drawing a small bit, I'm going to pull this up just to clean it up a little bit. Just keep the dimensions nice and clean. It is very handy if you have to go back in and change something afterwards, or just as you're working through the drawing, it's nice to have the dimensions fairly clean and tidy. So just to note on that, just from the drawing I can see that I don't need this section here. These lines, there's no lines there, whereas I have them drawn. Now I can just trim them away. So before I trim, don't stay out too far. Like, don't go out here and try and trim away the lines. You might trim away the wrong section. So zoom right in on top of it. So I've zoomed in good and close there. Click on the trim, and for trimming it's just left click and hold, and you'll see the grey line. So whatever the grey line crosses, it'll trim away. Now be very careful not to cross the centre line or the centre lines here of the centre rectangle. If you do, it'll blow all the relations away. It'll remove them because it doesn't know that it's a centre point rectangle anymore. So just be careful where you're crossing. So again, back into trim, just left click and hold, cross that section, and then left click and hold and cross that section. So again, for trim, it's always very handy to zoom in good and close to wherever you're trying to trim, and only trim what you need to trim. So that's those bits drawn. Next I need to draw these two lines here. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on line, and just again to show you, if I start on the center, if I start on the circle, it's going to apply that tangent constraint. So SolidWorks assumes that I want that to be a tangent, which I don't. If it is a case, you can just hit escape and start again, or you can apply the line, delete that tangent constraint out of it. So just left click on it, left click on the tangent relation, or right click on the tangent relation and come down along and delete it, and then click on the line and make sure it's add the relation here on the left and make it vertical. So that's that line sorted. An easier way to do it is to start from the bottom, to start on the rectangle and work your way up, and then it's done. You don't need to do any changes to it afterwards. So that's the two vertical lines down. So for this then, next step is I'm going to add a symmetric relation between these two lines, because I know that they're symmetric about the origin. So to do that, left click one of the lines, hold down control, left click on the center line, left click on the line on the right, and then you see on the left hand side here in the feature manager that the three of them are selected. Drop down here to add relations and click on symmetric. So you can see that those are symmetric now about that center line. And finally I need to add that distance, so the 12mm here is the width. So just click OK to that, right click smart dimension, and just before we come out of that, just if you right click anywhere in space, right click and hold it down, you'll see that I have my quick access wheel here. So if you want to get used to that, it's quite handy and quick. If you use it a lot of times, it's second nature after you use it. So if I right click and hold down and go straight up, it puts on the dimension. So that's just another way of accessing the smart dimension there, and it's 12 there for that. Just zoom out to get the whole lot of it in there again. So that's it. So that's my full sketch. So I can exit just to check, fully defined here in the bottom, so I can exit sketch. So the first section I'm going to extrude. We start at the bottom and work our way up. So that bottom section is 46. So let's extrude it. So features, extrude a boss base. Just click on that bottom section. So click on the line at the bottom. And if it is a case that didn't come up correct, that there might be a case that thin feature was automatically popped up, just deselect it, and you may need to delete the contour from there and then reselect it again. Now if it came up first time, don't do any of those last two steps, but just to note that you may need to deselect this thin feature. So I need to extrude that 46mm, but I want to do it in a mid-plane extrude so that the center always remains on the sketch, so that I can extrude the 36 the next time from the center as well. So just to change that, you come up to the direction 1, click on the drop down, select mid-plane, and you'll see it's going 26 this way, or 23 this way, 23 the other way, and yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I want. So click OK to that. So now you see that automatically in SolidWorks, once I use a sketch once, it disappears for me, because it assumes you only want to use a sketch once. In this case, we want to use it multiple times. So in order to reactivate the sketch so that I can use it, click the little plus beside the boss extrude, and you'll see there's my sketch. So I just right click on sketch and click on the glasses to show the sketch again, and there you'll see that the sketch is active again. So the next step is to extrude this section here. So I want to extrude that little rib 36mm. So click on extruded boss, back down into the sketch, click on one of the edges, and again you'll see this time that the thin feature has come up for me. Just deselect it, delete the contour from the selected contours, and then come across to the graphics area and you can select that region again. So for this one, and if you see me just spinning, I'm literally just clicking on the wheel or the middle button on the mouse and just rotating it, just so that I can see what SolidWorks is going to be applying before it applies it. So then come across here, direction 1, and select mid plane, and I don't want 46, I want 36 for this middle one. Just click on 36, and I'm just left clicking here in the graphics area to kind of activate the preview, and that looks right to me, so I'm going to click OK to that. Finally is the center boss, or the cylinder here at the top. So for that one, again, extrude a boss base, click on the outside circle, and I don't want that full cylinder, I want just this this cylinder. I don't want the inside, I want that inside shouldn't be there. So to deselect that, just click into the selected contours, and if I click on that center circle now, it'll delete it from what it's going to extrude. So again, just rotating it slightly to see what it's going to be applying, and again I want the mid plane for this one. So direction 1, click the drop down there beside blind and select mid plane, and I don't want 36, I want 50. So we'll put 50 in there and hit enter to apply the preview, or else you can just click out here, that looks pretty good to me, and click OK. So once I've that done, that's everything I need the sketch for, so I can turn off the sketch again. Now in order to do that, that sketch is located inside any of these plus boxes. So if you hit the plus to add the drop down, sketch 1 has been used for all of the extrudes, so I can deactivate it from any of the 3 of them. So I'm going to just right click in here, so right click in the sketch and just come up here to the glasses again, and now it's showing hide instead of show. So just click on hide, and again it deactivates that sketch. So when you're finished, just close up all these the extend boxes, so just to keep the feature manager nice and tidy, or the feature tree. So that's the main part drawn. The next and final thing that I need to add to this is the slots. So if you come across to the drawing again, you'll see that I have 2 slots. So I have one slot here and I have one slot here. The dimensions for it are 20 from center to center. Now that's important to note. So the distances given here for the slot length is from the center points. So it's 20 from the center of that to the center of that. The overall slot length is actually the distance from the 2 center points plus the radius by 2. So the radius plus the 20, and then plus the radius again. So again I'm given the 10 here, so that's the diameter, or the radius, times 2. So my overall slot length is 10 plus the 20, so overall slot length is 30. And also to note, because we will need it, the distance from this top edge to the edge of the slot is 8. So where I'm getting that 8 from is it's given as 13 to the center, but I want it to the top of the slot, which is 13 minus the 5, minus the radius, so it's 8. So we'll get cracking on that. So again, just quickly to note, I could apply these using Sketch. So I could go into Sketch, I could use the slot command, draw a slot here, and extrude a cut. It's a little bit slower, and also once that's applied as a cut, it just comes up here in the feature manager as a cut. It's easier and nicer if you use the whole wizard. So if I come into features and use whole wizard, which is what I'll do now in a second, It comes into the feature tree here as we'll say diameter 10 slot. So it's quicker to see it in the feature tree. Now it's handy enough to see them anyway on smaller parts, but when you get to bigger parts, it's nice to be able to know exactly what each feature or each cut or each slot is, and the whole wizard it's nice to have here on the feature tree. So if I click on whole wizard, there was enough jabbering there, so we'll put them on it. Click on whole wizard. So for hole type, I'm coming down to the bottom right hand corner and I'm clicking on slot. Standard is ISO, type is drill sizes, and size is diameter 10. So that's my diameter 10 here, the slot width. I need to click on show custom sizing just to have a quick look at it. So again, the slot diameter is 10 and the slot length is 30. Now you will need to change that. The reason it's at 30 for me is this isn't my first time doing this video. It's actually my third, so hopefully this time it'll actually work. So it's coming up as 30 because I've put it in already previously. Anyway, so that's slot length 30. End condition is true all. So again, true all is needed for this one because these two slots are going all the way through. So end condition true all you want to select there. Don't worry about any of the rest of them. If these are selected, deselect them. So we're not going to be worrying about these for now. So that's it. So once you have all these set, click on positions, and it's asking me to select face for hole or slot. So I want this face here, so click on that face, and then I'm just rotating it slightly with the middle of the mouse, or the middle wheel and the mouse button. So just drop in two slots. Don't worry about the orientation of them, we can change them later. So once you have the two of them dropped, just right click and hit select. Now what I also like to do is I like to hit spacebar and select normal to, so that I know I'm looking directly down at the face. So it eliminates that kind of parallax errors. So to rotate them, I can just click on the point and turn them whichever direction I want. So just be careful it doesn't snap. So I'm just going to pull it roughly where I want it, and you see that the other one is rotating to the same orientation as this one here. So just to make sure that that's vertical, click on the line, click on that construction line, come across here to the feature tree and select vertical. So again, that's that sorted. I also want to make sure that this slot is directly horizontal with this one. So to do that, click on the point of one of them, hold down control, click on the second one, and then add the horizontal relation. So that means that they're both horizontal. So for my dimensions then, as I noted earlier, the distance from that top edge to the edge of the slot is 8, so it's 13 minus the 5. So dimension, smart dimension, on the top edge, I don't actually want to select the point, I'll select the line. So from that top edge to there is 5, or sorry, 8. And the distance from, so again I need to lock it left to right. So to get that, we're going to take the 54. So the distance from the center of this slot to the center of this slot is 54. I can use that now in a minute, but I need a distance from the center to the edge. So to get that, because I know it's symmetric, I know it's the same distance from here to the center as it is from this edge to the center. So if I take 54 from 80, I'm left with 26, and if I divide that by 2, I'm left with 13. So that's 13 from this edge to the center. So back across again, smart dimension, and 13 mil here. I know I could add 13 mil here, but I'll just use the dimension that was given in the drawing, and that was 54. So that's that. And just dropping down quickly, I'm fully defined, so I can exit the sketch. Just click OK there to apply that. So it looks pretty good. That is the two slots, and again, as I was rambling on there earlier, just to show you here, it's a diameter 10 slot, so it's very quick to see what that is. Just to know which slot, like there could be a case where you have 10 different slots or 10 different sizes of slots in a part, and it's very quick to see which slot is which from that. So that's it for that part. I hope you enjoyed the video and you can work down the way through it, and I will speak to you in a couple of weeks. Okay, thanks.